basketball.
3,000! History with an exclamation point!
Anthony for three. Bang! That one goes down, and the game is tied. Yankees are champions of baseball.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Appreciate you all joining the show here. Episode 911 of the podcast. Thank you for tuning in. And yes, as you can see by the title, by the thumbnail, we are talking New York Yankees in this episode. It's going to be our last Yankees episode for a while, probably. We usually like to take a little bit of a cleanse in the offseason, and we have already started transitioning to Knicks basketball. Definitely catch the latest blogs and podcast episodes if you haven't yet, where we've discussed a lot of Knicks already in the last couple of days. But we are going to finish up with the Yankees here, put an official nail in the coffin. Been busy, been a little annoyed. So I didn't cover the postseason, or at least the divisional round, like I thought I would. Some of those losses took a lot out of me, but we are going to talk here. And I think actually taking a few days is actually a good thing, because if I came on here fresh off of the Game 4, if I came on here fresh off the Game 4 loss, I think that would have been bad for everybody. I think that would have been bad for me, and I think that would have been just not the way to do it. I think taking a few days, as I'm recording, by the way, it's Saturday, October 11th. So we've taken a few days just to let it breathe and just to gather our thoughts and hopefully be a lot more rational than where we would have been a few days ago. But yes, that doesn't change anything that the Yankees did lose 3 out of 4 against Toronto in the ALDS. But we're hopping on here to talk about some things and kind of, counter a lot of bad narratives, a lot of bad takes that I've been seeing, and basically coming on here to simplify things, because it's not that difficult, folks. Why did the New York Yankees lose? What failed the New York Yankees in the end? I think they did not hit enough. They didn't play good enough defense. I didn't think they pitched well enough. I think it boils down to those 3 simple things. I also think they didn't play with the same fire as the Blue Jays did. The Blue Jays clearly wanted it every time these two teams matched up. You could see the passion. You could see the disdain that Vlad Jr. plays with when he plays the Yankees. You know he doesn't like this team, and I think they fuel off that stuff. And I just feel like the Yankees, having been in the postseason so much, they're here every year. These guys have been in the playoffs their entire careers, a lot of them at least, have this more entitled mentality, where it just doesn't really, it's hard to keep that same hunger. It's like when you win a championship and you have that hangover season after that, right? It's just, it sucks because they haven't won a championship. You feel like they should have that same passion. But I did get that, I got that vibe. And I'm not even talking about the crap that people talk about when they talk about Jazz Chisholm yawning. I don't care about that. That's not even what I'm talking about. Because to me, that shows the guy is tired. Doesn't mean he doesn't care. No, listen, I just don't think the Yankees played with that same energy. And it's easy. It's much easier to sit here and say that when you're losing. So I could be totally off base, but I do think there is something to Toronto playing with a ton of fire and wanting it more in front of an entire country, right? I mean, Game 1 in Toronto was insane. That Vladimir home run, the home run that Vlad Jr. hit, or the grand slam that he hit, the crowd just fed off that, and it was over right there. So I think to start off, yes, I think they played with a lot more fire than the Yankees did. But again, it's hard. How do you measure that? But yeah, baseball-wise, I think the Jazz Chisholm fielding error was massive in Game 4, and it officially put the game to bed. In what was the game the Yankees could have won late in the game there, to make an error like that, and then that blows up into what the score was. All of a sudden, what was it, 2-1 becomes 4-1. It was over. I don't even remember what the final was. It's all blacked out now. He also fell asleep on a relay play back to the infield, which allowed Toronto to score an extra run. So just some stupid, unattentive to detail mistakes that we've been talking about for 2 postseasons now came back to bite the Yankees. Of course, they did not pitch well enough. I mean, that part was simple. Your 2 aces were your 2 worst pitchers this entire postseason. Max Fried was a complete no-show in Game 1 of the ALDS. Gives up 7 runs. Carlos Rodon was a complete no-show the next night. Gives up 6 runs. Or I should say, Fried gave up 7 runs in Game 2. And then Rodon was a no-show in Game 3. So they were bad. Cam Schlittler was obviously great, but the bullpen was bad. The bullpen was bad all year, which I think costed the Yankees the division title, which could have changed had the bullpen had a good season. Obviously, that changes your entire postseason path. Maybe 94 wins with a good bullpen that becomes 98, 99. Luke Weaver was a nightmare down the stretch of the season, and he was an even bigger nightmare in the postseason. He faced 7 batters in the playoffs, was able to get 1 of them out. He gave up 5 runs in a third of an inning this playoffs. He was atrocious. That's one of the guys you relied on, and he did not come through. So pitching wasn't good. Most importantly, though, folks, and I think we're all pretty much in agreement here, the Yankees, excuse me, the Yankees' identity this year was their lineup. That lineup produced some of the best offense you can produce. They scored a bunch of runs. They hit a bunch of home runs. They got on base a ton. They delivered with sac flies. They delivered by stealing bases and going from first to third, second to home, first to home even. Like, they were a dynamic offense that did it in multiple ways in the regular season. They did not hit in the postseason, or at least not hitting enough. For a lineup that had the names they have on paper, they needed to be a whole lot better. And I think the concerns going in was, will Aaron Judge do it? And in the beginning, I will admit, I was on board with those who were like, yeah, the numbers are there, but it's a lot of singles, some garbage time, some luck, and he hasn't really delivered the big moment. Well, the second that Judge came through with that home run that hit off the foul pole in Game 3, that all ended. Aaron Judge delivered this postseason. Aaron Judge batted .600 this series. He batted .600 against Toronto with the biggest moment that he's had in his career. It was the moment everybody waited for, and they got it. That cinematic moment, he delivered. You cannot blame anything on Aaron Judge. Yes, I know about the bases loaded strikeout. The guy came through, and he picked up 6 hits for every 10 at-bats. Nobody else really did. Nobody else came. I mean, Ryan McMahon. Credit to Ryan McMahon. He came to play with both the bat and the glove. He was fantastic. He homers in the last game. Nobody else showed up. Nobody else showed up. And that was just an abomination. I mean, you look up and down the lineup. Stanton wasn't quite the same. Moments, but he had 0 home runs. Jazz Chisholm. Moments. Right, listen, the 3 playoff wins that you had this October, he won you 2 of them, right? In the Boston series, he draws a walk, scores from first on a single, and then in the Aaron Judge game against Toronto, he hits the game-winning home run, which eventually became the game-winning home run. He won you 2 of your 3 postseason wins, but he also did not hit. He wasn't consistent enough at the plate, and he obviously made the bad mistake in Game 4. Ben Rice delivered a big home run in Game 2, was completely just a complete zero after that. Trent Grisham, who was one of your clutch players in the regular season, right? All the big moments he had disappeared back to being the average role player that he was in the postseason. Bellinger was a total flop job at the plate, did nothing. Austin Wells was nice behind the dish. He had some moments offensively, not enough. Volpe completely stopped hitting after the Boston Wild Card series. All you needed was for Aaron Judge to show up, check, and then everybody else just needed to contribute adequately. Couldn't check that box. Judge finally shows up. Now everybody else wants to disappear. So I think it's pretty simple. The Yankees didn't produce enough. And in 2025, in an age where power is everything, they didn't hit enough home runs. That's it. It's not the Yankees relied too much on the home run. No, it's that the Yankees did not hit enough home runs. They issued 9 home runs. They hit just 4 home runs. So Toronto more than doubled their home run output. This is how baseball works. It's how the postseason operates. The last 5 postseasons, or I guess 4.5, including this one, teams that hit less home runs than their opponents are 24 and 110. They lose 82% of the time. Folks, that's a large sample size. It's an incredibly large sample size. So all the old man talk about too many home runs, no, they simply didn't hit enough. Again, they allowed 9 home runs in 4 games. That's atrocious. This is a team, the Yankees, that hit 274 home runs in the regular season. They hit 4. They hit 4 in the LDS. They were chasing a lot more, and they took a lot more pitches in zone than they usually do. That's not how you hit home runs. So I don't think they were up to date enough. So I think the offense was the problem. What I don't think was the issue was personnel and roster construction, right? And if anybody tuned into the FS1 post games, you know, I like the banter they all have. It's a good crew. Burkhardt, Ortiz, A-Rod, and Jeter. It's perfect. And I usually agree with a lot of what A-Rod and Jeter have to say about the organization. A-Rod in particular made some comments that were just so off. Couldn't be more incorrect. So awful. Just talking about the Yankees roster construction being poor, and that's why they lost, and it's an organizational fault as to why they went home early. What was worse about the comments is I have Twitter. All right, I'm on social media. What was worse than the comments themselves were the reaction, because it was a very cliche thing to say, very emotional, very reactionary. And it's the thing to say when you're fresh off a loss. So it's going to get clicks, and it's going to get shares, and it's going to get views, and all the casual fans and all the old school purists are going to agree with it because it sounds like the right thing to say. But you actually just pay attention and listen to what he said. It was really bad. They have 5 DHs. That's stupid. Name me them. It's the worst roster construction I've ever seen. Really? That's an atrocious thing to say. Especially when just a few days prior you were talking about how the Yankees have what it takes to win a chip. I think it was just A-Rod. Obviously, he doesn't like Cashman. That's been a thing for, forever. And same with Jeter. Everyone and their mothers were saying that this was the best roster, the best team on paper the Yankees have had in the Judge regime since 2009. Some were even saying. And how they were even better than last year's team that got to the World Series. So I'm not just going to, what happened to that? Everyone all of a sudden is going to side with A-Rod, who was just saying all that stuff. You have a bunch of all-stars and MVPs and 7 guys who hit 20-plus homers this year. You won 94 games, which was tied for the Jays at the top of the American League. So why did they lose? Well, because you don't play the game on paper. So that tells me you got to blame the players this time. This is no longer on Cashman. In years past, could you blame Cashman? Of course. I'm not blaming the general manager of the Yankees this time. I think he did a really good job. I think this roster that the Yankees had balance. Lefties and righties. It had plenty of power. They were athletic. A good blend of youth and veteran leadership. As I spit. They had an elite rotation. And even the bullpen that I've criticized so much, and we all have the names to at least get it done. And he went out there and he addressed the team's issues at the trade deadline by getting a closer, by going out and getting a third baseman, adding some more velocity in the bullpen with Camilo Doval. I don't think it was a bad offseason last year. Don't think it was a bad deadline. The Yankees don't need some major overhaul, some rebuild. They don't need to fire this guy, etc. this winter. I don't think that needs to be the case. Usually I'm saying that stuff. I'm saying all of it. I just think they need to make some tweaks to try and assure that this does not happen again. I think you should add some velocity and some fastball throwers to this bullpen to make sure that the walks and the soft throwing off speed specialists don't become a problem again. I think take a look at someone like Robert Suarez or bring up Carlos LaGrange, who we'll talk a little bit about them later. I think you should be letting Ben Rice and Jason Dominguez get some full reign next year. Actually give them full season reps. Obviously, you like Grisham Walk. I think that was a fluky contract year type of season he had. I think he's best in Yankee Stadium. He's going to get paid more than he should somewhere else. You thank him and you let him go his way. I think you let Cody Bellinger walk. He's a Boras client. He's going to ask for more than he's worth. And I think Kyle Tucker is far superior. And so if there's one thing that we can talk about that the Yankees should make a big splash on, it's Kyle Tucker. I think Kyle Tucker should be a must. And honestly, I'm pretty confident that the Yankees are going to make an offer for him. I think Bellinger had a nice season. I think we all enjoyed Bellinger. It was a fun time for him. Kyle Tucker's track record is, and when I say far superior, I mean far superior. His last 5 seasons compared to Bellinger's last 5 seasons, that's the difference. The consistency year to year from Kyle Tucker is there. You don't exactly know what you're getting from Belly. So you look at Tucker's last 5 years via OPS plus, 147, 129, 142, 179, 143. Bellinger's last 5 years via OPS plus, 44, 81, 139, 111, 125. All over the friggin' place. So Bellinger's the more consistent bat. And really outside of the glove, where Bellinger's elite and Tucker's more average, Tucker brings the same traits that Bellinger does. He's a lefty with pull power who's going to lift the baseball. But he's also a contact-oriented bat who puts the ball in play and hits for average. He actually strikes out even less than Bellinger. He's not afraid to take his walks. He walks even more. So, I guess you could sit here and say off of that, why sign Tucker and not Bellinger for half the price? Because you're the Yankees. Because you can do that type of thing. Because Tucker is 2 years younger than Cody Bellinger with way more upside. And he's got the better track record. He's a much better player overall than Cody Bellinger. If you go out there and you don't sign Kyle Tucker and you bring back Bellinger, who's older, that's a classic case of the Yankees settling for less with the superstar available again. It's what they've been doing that's frustrated a lot of fans in the last 10 years, right? And I saw something on Twitter that was perfect. Somebody said it's the classic case of Anthony Rizzo over Matt Olson and Freddie Freeman. Perfect. Perfectly put. Everyone said at the time, last offseason, when the Yankees didn't make the trade for Kyle Tucker, when they didn't trade Luis Heel to get Kyle Tucker last offseason, everyone was saying, oh, it's fine because we could just get him next winter. Folks, next winter's here. Next offseason has arrived. And all of a sudden, now I see people advocating for Bellinger to come back because of nostalgia and fandom. Oh, get real. Get real. Cashman built this past season's roster of guys with 1 to 2 years on their deal. And that's how you go out and get Tucker. That's the perfect way to do it. The Yankees need a second superstar. And that was very clear this postseason, if no other time. Because Aaron Judge, again, finally shows up. But you didn't have a 1B for him like you did last year with Juan Soto. Juan Soto leaves. He joins that other team in town. And the Yankees don't have that guy to help out in October. Kyle Tucker is that guy. He's that guy that you put in front of Judge. Kyle Tucker crushes fastballs. What's the pitcher going to see if you're hitting in front of Judge? And Kyle Tucker's hitting this postseason, by the way. He's hitting. You put him and Judge together, wow. I know in the past he's had some issues hitting in the playoffs. You know what? You're not going to build a team based off of guys who hit and don't hit in the playoffs. Because you know what happens with that? You wind up with a less talented roster. And all of a sudden, one of those guys isn't going to hit, or 2 or 3 of those guys isn't going to hit in October. That's not how it works. You don't get guys because of their postseason track record. You get guys because of their talent. Looking at postseason track records to build a team is dumb, and it's very stupid and straightforward. Giancarlo Stanton was a postseason hero for this team. What happened this year? Judge was a choker in the postseason. What happened this year? It can flip just like that, for good and bad. So I think the question should be, assuming Grisham's gone, how do the Yankees approach their outfield? And do I think it can be Bellinger and Tucker? I don't think that Hal Steinbrenner is going to operate that way and spend that much money. But you can do that. Bellinger can play first base. Martian can get DH days. That can work. But I think more than likely, Bellinger walks and you sign Tucker for $450 million, whatever it's going to be, to play left field. I think you give Jason Dominguez center field. You let him work on that in the offseason. You let him play in the spring. I think center field is much better fit than left field because he's got 2 guys to cover the gaps when he's ranging to his right and left. But I'm not out on Martian by any means. I think Martian and Rice, with Goldschmidt gone, Rice should be getting those reps. And with Grisham and Bellinger gone, I think Martian should be getting outfield reps now. Listen, Martian's not bad. We're acting like he had this terrible season. If a 724 OPS is disappointing for your rookie season, that means you've got pretty good upside and expectations. Obviously there are improvements that need to be made. Hitting from the right side, I think he should ditch that. Hit for a little more power, we'd like to see that, and obviously make some improvements out there in the outfield, but I'm not out on him by any means unless there's a big trade on the horizon, which I am all for trading him or Spencer Jones. I don't think they're going to have all these guys. Again, Spencer Jones can play first base. But I think there does need to be a trade made. I don't think the Yankees should just go in-house and not even think about signing an outfielder like Tucker. Jones and Dominguez should not be the reason they don't. And neither should Cody Bellinger. So they can get creative. Yeah. That's what I really wanted to touch on. Was just getting that second superstar for Aaron Judge. I think that's the one move you should make. But outside of that, like, I'm cool with this roster. I think Ryan McMahon will have a good year at third base next year. There's enough power in that bat. He hits the ball from the left side. He hits it hard. I think he could fit inside the stadium. I think that's 20-plus homers as a Yankee. 7-something OPS bat, which is perfect for a 7.89 guy. Think you got to figure out shortstop. We'll talk more on that in another show. But shortstop needs to be figured out. Is Anthony Volpe back? Better have somebody else who's, ready to take his spot if he doesn't pan out. And it doesn't look like he's panning out. This is going to be his third year next year, or his fourth. It's going to be his fourth season next year. If he's not hitting, he's got to have a glove, and the glove wasn't there this year. We'll dive into another episode about that, but figure that out. Obviously, Jazz Chisholm, I think they should focus on extending him. Give you the first 30 year you've had since Soriano in the early 2000s. Got to extend Jazz Chisholm. Give him the bag. Second base is a super thin position. Cannot afford him walking next winter. Ben Rice got to be your first baseman. Austin Wells, I like him at catcher. Judge speaks for itself. Stanton, you got to expect Stanton to go on to the DL again at some point. But again, make the move for Tucker. Have Dominguez be a part of this next year. I don't have issues with the roster, guys. I don't have Cashman problems. I don't. Even the pitching staff. The bullpen. Again, if there's some things that Cashman really needs to address, go after some more velocity. Go after some strike throwers to get into this bullpen. I think Robert Suarez, 34 years old, but he does have an opt-out. Be a smart 1 to 2 year deal. He throws hard. He gets strikeouts. He gets a lot of chase. And he's also a strike thrower. He does not walk guys. I think Carlos LaGrange, I could see an early promotion from him. Talking about a hard-throwing righty with electric stuff. A lot of movement on his fastball. I would let someone like Luke Weaver walk. Weaver can go. Become a starting pitcher somewhere else. I'm over him. Thank you for having a nice couple of seasons with us. See if Devin Williams is willing to return for cheap. I wouldn't mind that. I have a feeling he's going to become, or going to want to get paid closer money somewhere. Work on Jake Bird in the offseason because you do need a right-handed relief pitcher that throws a slider. The Yankees have too many righties who throw changeups and sinkers. You need a righty out there who's got soft stuff that goes away from a righty. So, work on Camilo Doval in the wintertime. See if you can get him right. I think I'm expecting some big things from him. If you can tap into his potential. Guy's got all the talent in the world. And was better down the stretch. And then rotation-wise, I think you're pretty set. I mean, you're super deep and flexible here. You're talking about Cam Schlittler being the real deal. Max Fried, awesome this year. Carlos Rodon was awesome this year. Garrett Cole hopefully returns and is healthy enough to be productive by October. It's a low bar, but listen, he's coming off Tommy John. And then you're talking about Luis Heel, Will Warren, Clark Schmidt. Actually, Clark Schmidt, I'm not sure when he's due back, but Luis Heel, give him an offseason to work it back, get the stuff that he had once, before that injury. If he can get that back. I liked what I saw from Will Warren. You can do a lot, folks. You can do a lot. And again, I don't want to get too deep into the blueprint here. We'll talk more specifics another time, but this is just a quick little primer on what the Yankees have in front of them here and what they can do in this offseason. So, I think Kyle Tucker should be the goal. I do. And I think anybody else who is disagreeing with that, you got to take a look in the mirror and ask yourself, what am I talking about? I think it's pretty obvious. So, appreciate you all. that's all we got for this one. And I'll see you soon. Go Yankees. The rest of this fall and winter time, most likely it'll be all Knicks. If I can get a Yankees blog out this week, I'll try to do that. But Yankees fans, I do appreciate you all sticking with me all year. And I'm sorry I kind of disappeared in the ALDS, but you got to understand. That was a tough one. But I appreciate you all tuning in. All the new subscribers, commenters, viewers, listeners, wherever you're coming from. Very much appreciate that. Appreciate the followers on social media. I don't do this for clicks and listens, views. I do it because I enjoy it. And the rest is a bonus. So I appreciate you all. And Knicks fans, I'll see you soon. Go Yankees. Hey guys, thank you for listening to BD4. Be sure to follow us on social media, subscribe to us on YouTube, and give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. We'll see you next time.